हाँ तो फिर
Mun turbiel man kay dang tiri gel rey turbiel ba jelen na.
While heavy clashes are spreading in South Sudan, new areas that had not encountered clashes before are now experiencing clashes over the fight between government forces and opposition forces over the house arrest of the first Vice President Riek Machar. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the Upper Nile state as well as the Central Equatoria state, what has been happening in these areas in the past few days, and the increase of violence that has continued in these places, the death toll among the troops, as well as the impact on the civilians in South Sudan. Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit the notification button so that when I release something new on South Sudan, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, the clashes in South Sudan are intensifying, and they are getting to levels that had not been anticipated before. Because both SPLA-IO and the South Sudanese Defense Forces have reported losses in a series of clashes that broke out across central Equatoria and Upper Nile states over the past few days. Multiple engagements reported over the past week in central Equatoria, notably Wunaliet in Juba County, and Upper Nile state involving SPLA-IO and the SSPDF, who are now supported by the National Police and the National Intelligence Service. And specifically in Wunaliet, the SPLA-IO spokesperson, Colonel Paul Gabriel, declared his forces repelled an SSPDF-led offensive, killing at least 7 government soldiers, including Colonel Juma Festo, a former SPLA-IO officer who turned to South Sudanese Defense Forces as a defector. This is a person who was previously working with the SPLA-IO, then went to the South Sudanese Defense Forces, and now has been reported by the spokesperson of SPLA-IO. That person was targeted, as well as he has lost his life in that particular clash in Wunaliet. And that is not all, because in Upper Nile, clashes unfolded in Mathiang, Longechuk County, where SPLA-IO 5th Infantry Division launched an assault against government positions, inflicting heavy human and material losses before withdrawing for what they termed to as tactical reasons. And still in the Upper Nile state, Tonga, Panyikang County, the SPLA-IO 7th Infantry Division repelled a joint South Sudanese Defense Forces Agwelek militia attack on Sunday, claiming significant losses on government side. The Agwelek are a militia that are aligned with the government forces, and they are fighting alongside the government forces against the opposition forces. Mind you, the opposition forces also has some few contingents of young people, the White Army included, who are fighting alongside them. So both of these forces still have pockets of villagers and young men who are armed, and they are assisting them in these troubled areas in South Sudan. While that has been happening, the full details from the government forces remain limited, although the government shared a video of a wounded SPLA-IO fighter called Riyad Tuk Turuk. Still, that has not been satisfactory as to what extent the government has lost according to its own accord, because most of the information that we are getting right now has been coming from the SPLA-IO. The spokesperson of the SPLA-IO, Colonel Paul Gabriel, has been releasing this information of what is happening in Upper Nile as well as Central Equatoria State. It is well important to note that there is a growing instability in South Sudan currently, because now the government forces are receiving these sort of attacks from the opposition forces in heavy measures. We know that the government of the day right now asked for assistance from the Uganda Defense Forces. What we know so far is that the Uganda Defense Forces are still embedded in South Sudan, and presumably they are still assisting the South Sudanese Defense Forces to fight against the opposition forces in the country. Well, at this time, we've not had much of the Uganda Defense Forces going in tactical to assist the South Sudanese Defense Forces to fight against the opposition forces in the country. Perhaps most of the assist that is coming from the Uganda Defense Forces is technical in terms of operating the machinery that is used to fight the opposition forces in the country. But the Uganda Defense Forces have not actually gone to the front line to assist the SSPDF in fighting the opposition forces. What we know is that the South Sudanese Defense Forces has been out there trying to maintain their bases, trying to take over regions that have been controlled by the opposition forces for years, as well as politically. We've also seen there are moves that are being made by the regime of the day to remove or dismiss people who are appointed by Riek Machar and replacing them with new people who are aligned to other parties that are closely aligned to the regime. Well, I will continue to keep you informed of the latest of what is coming out from South Sudan regarding these renewed clashes that are now increasing in the country. Keep it bona fide.